This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright.
And you're listening to the Krypton Report.
And you're listening to Krypton Report.
It's a plane! It's a plane! It's the Krypton Report!
The All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
If you're an Amazon shopper, just remember you can go to southgatemediagroup.com. There's a portal, log into Amazon, and you'll shop into your account just regular, but it also helps keep Southgate running.
Hey guys, podcast. Check out some other podcasts at Southgate, especially if you're into comic. Check out Capes and Ticks, where sometimes you'll find me not too busy. I've said Super Connectivity. Capes and even has the side episode. Check out those as well as Titans Talk to get all DC comic or more. They're there.
Welcome to the Krypton Report. This episode is going to be fun. You know why? Because unlike most episodes of this show, where James and I are exhausted and tired, with this episode, we're awake because we're doing it early in the morning on this bright, brisk Ohio day. After last week, we suffered a snowstorm.
Yeah, and now we're back up into the 40s, and pretty much all the snow is gone.
Yep, in one day. It was.
That's it. That's it in Ohio. Maybe the Midwest, but definitely Northwest Ohio with this lake effect with the Great Lakes here.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can easily get 3 seasons, if not all 4, within a week. Sometimes within a couple of days.
It's ridiculous, right? I mean, people are like, "Oh, that's Ohio." I'm like, "Yeah, that's Ohio." I'm like, it's crazy, but
it's like the Hobbit. It's like the Hobbit days worth of meals, but seasons. Like in a single day, you got wake up with first winter, and then you get like false spring or false fall, and then you wake up, and then a little bit later you get like second winter, and then in midday it's real sunny and bright and no wind, and it feels nice and comfortable outside, and then by the evening you're back down into like negative temperatures.
Exactly. You're like, how did this happen? And, like,
and being up early, kids are rambunctious, so you probably hear that.
You're having a party in your house. I want to join James's party. It's James's party.
See, this is why I need a laptop, so that way I can close my bedroom door and just, not deal with all that noise.
Yeah.
Close the bedroom door, lock it. Like, my kids are 10. My kids are about to turn 10 and 11. They don't need me unless nobody's bleeding or crying. Lock the door and just don't mess up the house.
Well,
don't get injured.
I will tell you this. So this morning, Sayla wakes me up again and says, "Daddy, can I have cookie?" I'm like, "All right, baby, give me a second. I'm waking up." So I'm getting up, moving around, heading to get her a cookie. And I'm not fast enough, so I turn around, and there she is, climbing on the counter with her chair, getting her cookie. And I'm just like, "Hold on, girl." Like, man, demanding child. If she says cookie, Daddy, and I don't jump, it's over, man.
It's like Baby Herman climbing across the counter in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, my gosh. And then
running across like Roger Rabbit screaming, "Ah!"
And this is how cool my daughter is. And then she's like, "Daddy, I'm hungry still." I said, "Okay, baby, what you want?" She looks at me and goes, "I want green beans." Coming right up, baby. Coming right up. So
that's when you just need like baby carrots and like fresh broccoli florets in the fridge, so that way you can just pull out your little veggie tray for her and like go to town.
It's something, you know what I'm saying? Like she is.
It's good when kids like vegetables.
Oh yeah,
like a lot of kids don't. If they like vegetables, get them eating them and get them to keep eating them because
I totally made it. That's why when you messaged me, I was like, "Yep, I'm good." I'm like, I'm getting ready because I had my coffee done, I was ready to go, and then she's like, "Daddy, I want green beans." I'm like, "I'm not going to say no."
Right.
Your brother, I can't get to eat anything else up in the world, but baby girl, if you want some green beans, coming up.
Right.
But let's get into this week's episode of Supergirl, Confidence Woman. Now, this episode definitely proves what I had said before, that we were at that time in the series where they're filming crisis stuff because our main actors are disappearing for, out of episodes. Like, I was talking about this with Brian with the previous Flash episode where it was pretty much just Cisco as the lead. I'm like, yeah, because Grant's off working on Crisis. And then this episode kind of does the same, where it's a very heavy Lena and Andrea focused. And I'm okay with that because these are characters that are important now that we need time with. We need to understand who these people are. And
yeah, it was a pretty cool flashback episode. Although I must say, just jumping into it real quick, young Lena, college age Lena and college age, maybe they were freshmen in college, but they look like maybe seniors in high school, if that, and they do not look anything like Lena and Andrea.
Later on, yeah.
Yeah, not even close. I could not see them growing into them in 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. It was one of those like, all right, just cast them. We need the actors. It's suspension of disbelief, people.
Right.
So
it's like use just like a little bit of special effects money and like make them look a little younger. Like they don't even have to look like Alex and Kara did from Midvale. I mean, that was taking them back to early high school. You needed different actors.
Yeah.
But like doing like freshmen in college, they're basically going to look the exact same they do now, except with a little less, age lines and like wisdom. You know what I mean?
They might be thinner. They might be fatter, like put them in a fat suit. Just they were fat in college and now they're not, just, so I actually really like this episode because I feel like Lena's been around long enough and exploring more of her story and her as a character, especially with what's going on now in this season, is very important. And this has really helped us understand her character more with stuff and it doesn't feel like it's retconning. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going back and telling stuff, and it feels like it really feels like it works comfortably with how we met Lena and how things developed in the earlier seasons. So I don't feel like they're forcing any kind of retcon on us. So good job, writers. Good job.
Yeah. Her development within this episode, being purely flashback until the present. Yeah. I think it did well to build up her backstory and incorporated what they had given us since she showed up in season 2.
James, I just want to say something to you.
Yes.
You jump, I jump.
I'm king of the world.
Whose favorite movie is Titanic? All right, look, I'm just going to go on a little bit of a tangent here.
Titanic, say college and high school girls in the 90s.
I mean, Titanic was depressing. Okay, I saw it because it was like a big deal. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, you got to see it!" And we went and saw it. And there was one part that, as a 12-year-old boy, that I quite enjoyed. And I was just far enough out of my mom's reach where she couldn't cover my eyes and get to me. So yes. And I mean, think about it. Like now we have stuff where we can know exactly what's in movies when they come out. Like if it's PG-13, like this, the rating system will break down everything that's in.
That makes it, yeah.
But back then, no. And it's crazy to say back then when referring to 1997. But it was just kind of fun that was them. So let's jump into the episode. Do you have a summary prepared?
I pulled something up on Wikipedia this morning.
Beautiful.
So that'll work for today.
Take us there, James.
All right. Supergirl season 5, episode 6, Confidence Women. Flashbacks show how Andrea and Lena met and how their relationship became strained. While searching for the Akrata medallion, Andrea has her first encounter with Leviathan, who put her up to killing Governor Harper and Caroline O'Connor by telling her how said medallion works. To further their goals, Leviathan brainwashes Rogers into becoming Rip-Roar to act on their behalf. In present, Andrea is assigned to eliminate the captured Rogers, but her first attempt to break into the DEO fails. She goes to Lena for help. So she sets up a fake break-in for Supergirl to investigate while Akrata raids the DEO headquarters once again with psychic tech, making off with Rip-Roar even in spite of Supergirl's intervention. During the raid, Supergirl discovers the latter's connection to Leviathan. Andrea gives Lena the medallion and attempts to run away with Rogers, but a Leviathan operative kills him before one of their representatives meets with her. Though she says she doesn't have the medallion anymore, she's told it merely activated her powers, which actually came from the darkness within her. Elsewhere, Alex and Lena independently continue to learn more about Leviathan.
All right. Awesome. Good job, James. So real quick note, as we had mentioned before, like Leviathan is a new and Event Leviathan just ended in the comic. And I will say I'm a little underwhelmed.
So I didn't get to pick up or did I pick up Event Leviathan last week? Or did that come out this week?
It came out this week. And I won't.
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything more. I'm just saying, like, I was a little underwhelmed with the whole how it turned out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like I haven't even gotten a chance to read last week's books, and I got to go pick up this week's books. So I'm a handful of issues behind on everything, but
I will say I did, and that's because we were this week extremely slow at work. So I'm one of those people like I got to be doing something. So we were extremely slow at work. So I just kept up on my computer and was reading digital comics on my computer at work. It also helped me do some school reading at the same time to get kind of ahead. So that was nice. So yeah, so I caught up that way. Like I caught up on Tom King's Batman. I've read Superman 17, which was garbage. It's garbage, man. Like. I'm really about to stop, and I hate to say this because I wanted us to talk comics towards the end of the episode, but just real quick, and then we'll save some discussion. I'm really about to stop getting the weekly books for Superman in action.
Yeah, Bendis is not being impressive at all.
I feel like I'm wasting.
Seriously, the best thing about his entire run on both books has been the art.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And that has nothing to do with him, or very little.
I mean, when Rebirth started, and we had Tomasi on. I'm probably gonna get this backwards, but Tomasi I think was on Action, and Jurgens was on Superman. My microphone doesn't stretch far enough to my comic shelf, but I was completely I loved it. I mean, I was so excited. I looked forward to it every issue. And now, since Bendis took over, I'm like, oh, Superman's here. It's kind of like how I felt when the New 52 started. Like, I have a huge chunk of New 52 books, but I don't have them all because it just got off where I wasn't I wasn't digging it. And I'm just like, I'm getting that point with Superman right now. And I hate saying that.
Well, so...
I wish if they would get a different writer on one of the books, if they would let Bendis tell his story, like maybe if he was telling his story in one book, it would be like we're getting more story because Action and Superman are kind of working together-ish. At times they were, then they're not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If they would just be like, all right, you have a story, you have two ideas, great. Just funnel your story through Action Comics or just do Superman. Because I kind of wish they would strict Action down to being a little bit more of a, I don't know. Well, it's kind of like, okay, with Detective Comics, I wish Detective was more about the stories of Batman being a detective. Maybe that's more of a solo Batman book or something, and it's more about really digging into the mystery stories. And then I don't know. I'm just not really excited right now when I look for Superman comics. And I hate to say that.
Yeah, his run has been lackluster. Once in a while, there's something good that happens, but there's a lot of wasted space. A lot of half of it's bad dialogue.
Yes.
Like nobody would talk that way. It's
almost they're like, see, let me take over the
becoming
world.
A little,
see?
right? It's becoming a little uninteresting because, like, it's just, I don't know, it's stretched out so far because so little happens in so many issues. Like if you have an idea for a story and you want to make it, say we're up to 17 issues now, and he's still dealing with the invisible mafia in action, which is fine. They did an okay job with the first part of Action, and then they started getting into Leviathan. So, you added another element and you're coming back. In my opinion, Action's probably been better for the most part than Superman. There was a lot of Superman that nothing happened for a very long time. It was
completely underwhelming because all of a sudden they shifted his story to Supergirl. And I felt like, okay, wait a minute. Wasn't this whole thing supposed to be your story, Bendis? Like, why is it in somebody else's book? Like, why is the big part of your story in someone else's book?
Yeah. I mean, it's all right just for it to, his idea to encompass everything Kryptonian in DC at the time being, you know what I mean? But, you bring in Rogolzar, and then the majority of the information is given in one book, and then you do something else. So like you start something, you give it to somebody else to build and create the story around, and then you just come in and say, this is this, and without much explanation. So you came in with an idea, but you let other people fill in the blanks, and you didn't even have an ending.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not, that it really does not seem like how you should write a comic book arc. I mean, that doesn't seem like you should write anything. I mean, if you want to compile ideas in a think tank, create the entire story, the beginning, the middle, and the end, but have it there. You know what I mean? If you want to bring in a think tank and bring your story into Superman, Supergirl, and have different elements placed in each of them, like you start it in Superman, you have a bunch of it in Supergirl, at least have an ending for it in Superman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you didn't, there was no explanation even how they got out of the Phantom Zone at the destroyed planet of Krypton, and then he's just, now he's Kryptonian, now he's weakened, and boom, we captured him, he's in stasis. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep.
It's still no explanation. Jor-El created Rogolzar. Oh, okay.
What does that mean?
How did he create him? How is he Kryptonian? How did he have his abilities at Krypton? How is he affected by kryptonite? How did he at Krypton at the planet, inside the planet's core, to destroy the planet with the device, and like so much unanswered. Like you didn't know, you didn't plan anything out. Like you had an idea, and then you just let it go for another half dozen ideas in other books.
My thing is, you're trying to all of a sudden you're trying to tell me that all this time Rogolzar is the one responsible for the destruction of Krypton.
Well, it sounds like the Circle.
Okay.
Which, did you read any of Supergirl? The Circle was responsible.
I did not read any of Supergirl.
Okay, so real quickly, so Supergirl goes out into space to investigate, is this true? Did Rogolzar do this? And if so, did he do this alone? Who was behind it? So in turn, the Circle is basically a group of powerful individuals from powerful different species and planets from around the universe. Jor-El was in the circle. Gandela, this crystalline type character, and she ended up being like the big bad of the circle. She was in it. I'm trying to think who else was in it. I know there was an Owen in it. So one of the Green Lantern Guardians, he was in the circle. And there was a couple other people. I can't exactly think. I'd have to grab some Supergirl books. But there was a handful of people involved in the circle, and they were basically like a kind of like a black ops type organization trying to do things behind the scenes, responsible for a lot of atrocities and things like that. But even then, I didn't get to a part where it was like Krypton did something and had to go, or where Rogol Zaar had said like he was the last of his species and like Kryptonians wiped them out, but then he was made by Jor-El, and what was his species? Like, was he another species? And like they did experiments on these species. Like, did Krypton go out and like colonize and like take over, different planets around the galaxy? Like, no explanation. And if it has any connection to the New 52, like space travel wasn't a huge thing for Kryptonians because their gravitational pull on their planet was so large that that it wasn't until the very end of the planet that they were able to construct rockets that could actually break the gravitational pull of the planet and get off world. So I don't know. Like, like there's still a lot there that's not even thoroughly explained. And you had 2 books at least to do it with, Supergirl and Superman, and 14, 15 issues, and you didn't do it in each.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you didn't get it all done with 30 issues of books. Like, is over a year with Superman and Supergirl since Bendis came on, and Supergirl went off to find the killers of Krypton, and Bendis created Rogol Zaar, and like it's still not explained.
Yep.
Like, there's still lots of questions.
And I mean that's
you're gonna lose people at that like that,
and they're starting to lose me. You know what I'm saying? And that's sad because I feel like that's where we are with comics. Like, that's what's going on. Like, we have the Red Cloud, but even just trying to sit here and tell you what's going on, I don't even remember because I'm that uninterested. Like, it's just been a slow dry. Like, John has left and joined the Legion.
Which I have that book. I have Legion #1, and I haven't read it yet. That was a last week book that I haven't gotten to open yet.
The event Leviathan just ended. We have the side story of Deceased, which was it had some cool moments, but it was pretty crazy. And it's definitely like a side story, like an Elseworlds tale. So
it's not like in continuity.
So that was just interesting. If anyone's wondering why James and I haven't continued our reviews of Superman Year One, it's just because it's just uninteresting. Like, it was really a letdown. And if you want to know why, please go check out Last Sons of Krypton as they broke down Year One in one of their more recent podcasts. Because even when James and I were reading it, we were messaging back and forth. And I was just like, this is horrible dialogue. This is horrible storytelling.
Horrible narration. Like, the narration blocks. Whether you couldn't even tell if they were
talking.
They were narration or if they were if it was somebody who was talking like inside their head, like internal dialogue. You couldn't tell. It was just there was a lot of that.
I love in books when like Superman's talking or in his head. They'll make it blue and everything, and they'll have his symbol when it starts. So when you see the blue bubbles, you know it's inside his head. Or Batman's is gray and black.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wonder Woman's is like red with a W in it, or like they identify internal dialogue.
So and then the end, dear God, the end of Superman Year One is such a quick, bam, 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 duh. Like they throw so much at you and you're like, wait, this makes no sense. The pacing, the structure, none of this is just, it feels like a child writing a story where they're just like, oh, and this happens, and then this, and then this, and then this. And you're like, okay, well, how did we get to point A to point B? Where's part of that?
They really wanted to, like Frank Miller really wanted to get his own Superman origin story out there and try to draw on the popularity of his Batman Year One, done in a completely different way. Year One makes no sense to call that book Year One.
Superman Year One.
Yeah. It makes no sense to call Superman Year One when it takes place from the time it's his entire life until like I'm not even sure how long into his early Superman days, because there's no time whatsoever. The only semblance of time passage is from the time he gets to Earth to the time he leaves for the military. After that, there's no idea of how long anything takes, like how long was he in Atlantis, which they which they totally just left behind.
Yeah, like each chapter is a huge jump in like departure. Like it barely talks about what connects it. So
I'll be honest, I am so uninterested in Superman Year One that I haven't finished Man Year One.
You haven't finished part 3?
No, I have not finished part 3.
Dude, like the end, you're just gonna be like, what the?
I just got into him doing some early stuff in Metropolis, which is kind of cool. That part is kind of cool.
Yeah. Okay. So like, that gets to that point, and you're like, okay, this is kind of got uptick. Like, all right, and then it continues, and you're like, what is this? What is going on with this story? And
that is horrible to say right now that pretty much the majority of Superman books are so uninteresting.
I will say the Batman Superman is, if you're okay with the storyline of the Batman Who Laughs, the Batman Superman book is pretty good. It's not bad.
I've enjoyed that, and I've enjoyed the Justice League books. Those books with Superman, good.
The Death of Superman from the Dark Multiverse was pretty interesting. It's definitely a different take, and that
I will say, I loved opening that book and getting an homage to Dan Jurgens' art from the Death of Superman. All the artwork was drawn like that, just with a modern uptick on it. So that was really cool to see.
And I like that. Like I enjoyed that book, and that's where we are with Superman right now. Supergirl, like you've been reading it more than I have. And the other thing is, I'll say this: the other thing is some of the artwork in the recent Superman book. The cover art is great, and then when you open the book, it's just flat, boring, rudimentary artwork.
I will say I did like the issue where it was about John and Damian. The artwork was like okay, what art school grad drew this?
Exactly. That's what.
But the story, just getting back to them was kind of cool. Just seeing like you've only been gone for 3 weeks, but for Superboy it's been years, and he's jumped in time, and just their boyhood interactions with each other. You know what I mean? That was kind of cool to see, because I just started reading some Super Sons, a couple of trades worth of that.
Yeah, I'm a little behind on my Super Sons. I think I am, because I know they brought it back with a really cool like this happened during this period of time, just because it was such a hit, and they kind of altered and changed that storyline. So I don't know, because I liked John and Damian, and then all of a sudden John's all aged up and go future, and Damian is okay. So I feel like they're like, okay, Bendis, come look at what we set up for you. Yeah, I'm just gonna scrap that. Yeah, and I got this idea, and like now he has this new character, and I'm okay with new characters. But the Naomi thing, like she's kind of taking up all the attention, and they're spinning her own book. Okay, that's cool. But it kind of, like right now in comics, kind of reminds me of a repeat of a little bit when they did that story that Jeff Johns wrote in Superman that ended up with the creation of the solar flare, when basically it was the Superman story, but from a different angle, in a different world, a different planet, where an Earth child went to a different planet and got powers or whatever. And then Deceased feels like kind of a rehash of Blackest Night in a way.
I think the concept for Deceased was really cool, though.
It was.
The anti-life equation combined with death.
And it's one of those things where this could have been a really good story, fleshed out more. It could have been in the main comics, you know? Instead of doing this as a side story, like, you could have just done this as a next big event. And then the whole year of the villain thing reminds me kind of Villains Month or whatever, when they did
Forever Evil.
Yeah, like, you know, every villain's getting their one shot and all this, and so
I loved Forever Evil.
So did I.
The whole thing, like going through and like on DC Universe, because on DC Universe right now, I kind of got away for the moment because of trying to read Crisis on Infinite Earths. But on DC Universe, I had gotten up to a point in my reading where I ran into like Forever Evil, and I started searching out all of the villain one shots in all of the books, and it's really awesome. Good Lord.
So that is really James and Tyler's quick summary catch up on comics. Now we're going to go back to Supergirl where we started. And I do have something from Phil. He sent me. Phil, if you're listening, this is for you. We have what's called the Kryptonian correction from Phil. He wanted to point out to us that the line from the Keanu Reeves movie that was in the previous Supergirl was not from Point Break.
Okay.
It was from Speed.
Yes, it was.
And as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, now I remember. So that is brought to you by Phil Parrish, the great grandmaster of all things comic books. You can find at
Thank you, Phil. I was not confident that I had the right one there. It's been a while since I've seen either one of them.
So you can find Phil at the Capes and Lunatics podcast feed, and he is on there a lot. And Phil is the grandmaster of us all. Like, if we were all comic book characters, Phil's kind of like I would say the monitor of knowledge and everything, you know. But so,
nice.
You know, he's the keeper of the keys. So now back to Supergirl. First of all, Rip Roar is Russell Rogers. Double R's, man. You know, somebody had fun with that. Like Russell Rogers. What's his name? Rip Roar. Really, James? Rip Roar? Yeah, why not? All right, let's just go with Robo Octopus here.
Yeah, he's Robo Doc Ock is what he is. He's RoboCop mixed with Dr. Octopus.
And then we see that Andrea has her ability. And my first thought was, is she supposed to be Shade? But then I guess Shade was on The Flash, I think it was. So she still could be a version of Shade.
I know there's a couple of people with dark powers, but...
Because that was my first thought. And then I thought, is she Orchid? And I was trying to figure out, like, who she's supposed to be.
Yeah, so... I mean, that was a little bit of a surprise. It's not like I was like, oh my God, when it revealed her to be Andrea.
I wasn't just like, oh my God, my life is altered. I was like, okay, I guess it makes sense, you know? Like,
yeah, I was like, oh, the Shadow. I was like, that's pretty cool though, you know, the Shadow coming in and out, like being fast, working in the shadow like that, kind of being basically Smoke. Or something. I was like, she's pretty cool, and but she, obviously, you know, she shouldn't have the abilities to get around Supergirl. And then in the rain, she pops up, and the thing was, it's like that tiny little mask. As soon as her head comes up, starts to come up, you're like, oh, that's Andrea. Yeah. And then they hold on her, and then she takes off the mask like it's a reveal.
Like we said, just because I can't see your cheekbones doesn't mean I don't know it's you.
Right. So yeah, that was, they lingered on her too long, like it was some kind of big reveal when she took off that like tiny little mask, like it's not even like a full, what do we call them? There's a proper name for that type of mask, but it's not even domino mask. Yeah, there's not even a full. It's not even a full domino mask. It's like literally the outline of a domino mask, and like reveal her face. Now you can tell it's her. Like, okay.
It's her costume is basically a reworked. It's the Rain costume reworked. Like the mask is not the same, but like the black looks like the same. They just took the symbol off the chest and just reworked a mask. I mean, you got to think like there's somebody whose job is to walk through the costuming department, and you have all the shows probably have right there, like, okay, I'm just going to pick and choose from these different costumes and make a new one.
Right. This rack over here is Supergirl. This rack is the Flash. This rack is Arrow. Let's see what I can pick and choose. And
Exactly. Because it's not a new costume created just for her. It's a recycled costume from the different stuff, and it looks to be recycled from the Rain era. But we get a backstory. So Andrea and Lena were friends, and it skips to 15 years ago when they meet in school, and Lena is drawing this symbol. She's obsessed with the story her mother told her, and Andrea and her start bonding, and we find out their favorite movie was Titanic. And then this is the one that kind of threw me a little bit, because it jumps and says 5 years ago, Lex Luthor in Metropolis, and we see a little bit more with John Cryer, which was cool to have him pop up in this episode, because those are scenes we hadn't seen before, where he basically is telling he's going to take her out and everything of the company, and he's Superman obsessed. It's very interesting, just seeing that, and that leads to where he tried to make the sun, red, to destroy Superman. So that's like right before Supergirl started, if you think about it, because the show kind of exists in the ongoing timeline of the seasons. So this would be like year 5 of her being Supergirl. Am I right?
Year 5, yeah. This would be year 5 of her being Supergirl.
So that would be like, it said 5 years ago with Lena. So that would be right before it started. Right before Kara comes as Supergirl, which is very interesting. And
I was looking. Did that say 5 years ago? Like.
It said 5 years ago when Lena and Lex started arguing and he became obsessed with destroying Superman. And then it says 4 years ago where he turned the sun red. And that's what threw me.
Yeah, no, I thought so. Their timeline is off. For Superman, it would have been more like 13 years ago.
It should have been a lot longer.
And then, it would have been like 13 years ago. At least, like Superman has been around for probably at least 8 years by the time Supergirl shows up, because he's long and well established before Supergirl shows up, and then it's been another 5 years since. So, well, not even. I mean, at this point in his career, like right now, like even if he was only established for say 2 or 3 years when Kara crash landed on Earth, she was a teenager at around 13, 14 years old, and she was in her mid-20s when she became Supergirl. So that scene with Lex and Lena would have had to been 5 years, say another 10 years. That scene would have had to been easily 15 years ago. To make sense.
It just doesn't fit right. I mean,
no.
Like I said, there's a couple of things in here. Like, I don't want to skip too far ahead because it is kind of broken up in the timeline. So we see Andrea's father is about to launch a phone for their Rojas Industries, and we get a glimpse that
for Obsidian.
Maxwell Lord Industries has a phone that comes out that's even better than theirs before theirs drops. So we do get a nice.
Was that the second name drop for Maxwell Lord in 3 years since it came over to the CW?
Yep. So that is.
Sorry, I cut him off and he made you lose your train of thought.
No, it's nice to see there's actually some acknowledgement about what's happened. because it's gotten to the point where like every now and then there'll be something like the DEO desert base, or like, oh yeah, hey, or remember Fort Ross? Wink, wink, and you're like, oh yeah.
So this episode, it's kind of like them trying to do Man of Steel, and I can't remember the exact name of the second episode of Lex, House of L, maybe. It's kind of like them trying to do those episodes, kind of a flashback to catch you up on the person and what they've gone through for Lena and Andrea. Not done as well. Hold on one second.
No, you're fine, but no, you're right. Just thinking about the template is perfect to what Man of Steel was, where we took our time with him and did his backstory, and that would be perfect with thinking about the production of doing the crossover at that time. So it is interesting that, and I don't mind these episodes that take time to develop a character, because Lena needs more development so that when she does get back to her core conflict right now with Kara and Supergirl, we understand that betrayal, because this episode sets up how Lena was betrayed. And
that was the interesting part. That was the interesting part that kind of at least lends credibility to how hurt she has been. Because I know I said something about that a couple of episodes ago about how hard she is taking this quote unquote betrayal of being lied to. You know, she grew up with the Luthers, so that's what she knows. You know what I mean? The first person after this, the first person she became like good friends with did the same thing, did a similar thing to her,
yes.
Lied to her and betrayed her. And then she didn't want friends. And then she becomes friends with Kara, and then down the line finds out that she had been lying to her. So it's just kind of history repeating itself over and over again. So it lends some credibility to why she is so hurt.
Yes, and why she's going down the spiral about wanting to control people.
Yeah, because it keeps happening to her over and over again.
So what we find out is when Andrea's father, when they learn about the phone, he's basically suicidal. And Lena and Andrea get together and form an expedition to go find this medallion, because Lena believes that this medallion, or not even the medallion, the story is true, and it has the power to stop Lex from what he's going to do. And so they decide to go so that, because Andrea's board is going to let all these people go, lose their jobs, stuff like that, and they have a couple of days. So they go to the jungle to find it. So they go, and what happens, Andrea falls into a cave, and then there's an old dude down there. Old man representation of, this is what kind of lost me. This dude was just, and he's like, we know about your father, blah, blah. Take the medallion, you always call upon you, and be fine with you. So Andrea takes the medallion. Lena gets down there to save it, sees that it's gone. Then Andrea lies to Lena about it. Next day or so, Andrea's father is fine. His health is good. Their stock skyrockets. So we know Leviathan was doing some stuff in the back. And then we go ahead a little bit. And remember Jack from, was it last season or season before last? I want to say it was season 3.
I think so.
Lena's ex-lover, friend, scientist guy who, I can't remember what his villain name was, but he was like Cyber or something. He comes back, and it shows how they rekindle their romance. She's going to take her to London, because this is when Lex is, she stopped Lex, but she wants, away from it all. And they go to London, and there's Andrea, and Lena gets excited to see her friend. But what is Andrea wearing around her neck, James?
The medallion she finds, the medallion that Lena was looking for, and Andrea found and
Boom.
Told her wasn't there, lied to her, betrayed her, took what she was looking for.
And boom, Lena is pissed, and she is angry. And that is a huge turn in her. Then thus, Lena leaves to go to National City. she wants to change. She wants to restore the Luthor name. She is, and then we get some scenes that are nice with her and Kara, where we see Kara tries to just friend Lena. Says, 3 years ago, it talks about Supergirl. Kara invites Lena to go to game night. Lena declines because of just everything, like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here, blah, blah.
Yeah. I forgot what the emails were about from back then, but she returned some emails to her. She's like, I would hate for you to think that, you giving me these would constitute us being friends. And, if that's the case, publish them. And, she's like, I wouldn't want to do that. And
yeah, Kara's just genuinely like, no, like, I recovered these, like, Catco got these. These are personal, they're private. There's no need for this, and gives them to her. Just generally being the good person that she is. And I think, sidestepping, that's kind of like the dichotomy of Superman and Supergirl, in the sense that they're very truthful beings in their own forms. Like, Superman is truthful, Clark Kent is truthful, Supergirl is truthful, Kara Danvers Kent is truthful. But when it comes to having to reveal their secret of the other part, is where they have to lie or manipulate to hide that truth, which sucks, because other than that, like, they're completely honest than who they are.
Yeah, and it's and in that respect, it's not that they don't want people to know who they are. I mean, it's kind of twofold. If somebody knew if they knew who they were, like Smallville did an episode of it where everybody knew that Clark Kent was, what was it, the Red Blue Blur or the Blur or something at the time.
Yep.
And everywhere he went, people were putting themselves in danger just so he would save them. You know what I mean? Kind of like, get your picture, get saved by the guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's one, they have no life.
It's no different if
two, it's like, it's not a protection from people knowing who they are. It's not for like protection from them or anything. It's protection for those people, because like, it's dangerous to know who they are.
Right. And the thing is, it'd be no different than like if Tom Welling moved in next door to me, but, oh my God, Tom, hey, Tom, like, people would just never let you go. Like, oh my God, can you believe Tom lives over here? Or can you believe Johnny Depp lives next door to me? Like, or, oh my God, Robert Downey Jr. Like, there would be no rest. Like, look at that kind of idea of what celebrity people kind of experience with paparazzi and all that. Like, it would be that on a bigger, massive scale.
Mm-hmm.
But so we get that. And while that's going on, we get flashbacks to how Andrea meets Russell, and Russell and her, have their relationship. He was going to work for her, but was going to turn down the proposal to just open his own company based on his cyber robotic systems that he was working on. He had his prototype. We then learn, because he finds the medallion that she's supposed to have with her, Leviathan shows up, and it's the old lady. So we've only met two agents of Leviathan, the old lady and the old man. Old lady Leviathan is what I have in my notes for. And they kidnap Russell, basically are going to kill him, torture him because of Andrea, and she talks him into his prototype, and we see them like surgically attaching his prototype to his back, and it looks brilliant. It is just, and then, like you said, skipping to the end of the episode where Lena offers Cadmus Tech to fix Russell after they break him out of the DEO. He gets shot by old man Leviathan.
Yeah.
So the guy who told her, who was secretly there in the cave. So I wonder if there's going to be more of a mystical element to Leviathan. And
I don't know. I mean, they've got eyes. They've got eyes everywhere. Somehow I don't know how they know or what they know about the medallion. You know what I mean? Being some kind of ancient myth. But they pop in and out of nowhere. Like, I mean, in the comics, they teleport, but there's like bright blue light. There's, seeming like large scale destruction kind of thing when they teleport on a massive scale.
Yep.
but they do teleport people in and out. But these people just show up without any warning, and they know everything that's happened.
And so we also got to see Andrea's first kill as the Shadow from Leviathan, and she just snaps the dude's neck like nothing. She's like,
yeah, she pops up behind him, snaps his neck, and then disappears.
Then we get the first scene where Lena kind of breaks down with Kara. And Kara shows up to get food for her and Alex, but Alex has to work. Lena's at the restaurant place working and invites Kara to join her. And they basically, it's kind of her breaking down a friendship. And it's kind of sad because we know where it's going to go. And then we start shrinking our timeline, where it says 12 weeks ago was Lex, with that whole thing with him dying. 10 weeks ago is when Lena basically sells cat code to Andrea as a way of A, getting Andrea to where she wants her when she learns that Obsidian needs a new headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
2, she can get access to her tech. And 3, it's part of her plan for Andrea betraying her. Like, she's already planted the seeds that she's not doing this to help Andrea, but she spins it so that it's like, well, you know, if you own the media, you can promote your product for free, basically. Like, you control the perception of your products.
Yeah.
So,
like, Lena is full on Luther, though. Like, somebody betrays her, does her wrong. Like, she is full on, like, how can I ruin you? How can I use you for my own benefit? Like,
exactly.
Like, she is full on, like, you did me dirty once, I'm gonna destroy you.
And that is basically brings us up to where it's is all kind of Andrea coming clean to Lena. Lena decides to help Andrea
I'm busy.
back into Joe's party.
Yeah.
So Lena loses her new field test, her Inception machine, to incept pretty much everyone in the DEO. She uses her signal watch to get Supergirl to save her and makes a fake break-in. And my favorite part, honestly, is Supergirl doesn't know what's going on in the DER till Alex calls help. She yells Kara, if I remember right. And
yeah, I can't remember exactly.
Because I have Alex yells for help, but I can't remember. I think she said Kara, but it's like she was tuned into her sister's voice. So when she heard that, she took off. And Rip Roar is free and taken by taken back. Everyone's trying to figure out what happened to the DEO. Jean talks about how it couldn't have been Malefic. Alex had like the special anti-mind control earbuds in. So her and Jean were trying to take out everybody. And, you know, that kind of gets to where we were talking about. But before Rip Roar left, he said Leviathan. So now they're like, it's on their radar. And then at the end of the episode, Lena accesses Hope to access Eve Tessmacher's mind to find everything she can about Leviathan. And then, like we said, Rip Roar gets shot and killed by old man Leviathan. So that was the episode. And like I said, it's probably one of my favorites so far this season, just because I really like Lena. And we're getting to learn more about her so that this betrayal that she's experienced in this event that she's going through feels more organic because of the past, the history. And we see why Andrea is now really part of this story this season.
Yeah. Yeah, this episode is probably one of the best so far. They've been pretty good this season, you know. They didn't quite get to any point they did last season after, you know, Man of Steel. Basically after Man of Steel until Lex's appearance.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But a pretty good episode. Timeline thing out of there because they totally screwed that up. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? So that's, you know, Confidence Woman. What would you rate it, James?
I mean, some of the some of the things were a couple of things I was like, and then the timeline thing, I mean, I give it about a 7.5.
I'm going to lean towards like a 7.58, just because I like that we're fleshing Lena out.
Her stuff was the best part of the episode, for sure. Kind of giving you the understanding of why she is the way she is this season, because of the betrayal that she experienced so many times over her life. Like I had said, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, she is so badly like hurt by this. Like, she wants to take over the world and control everybody because her friend, who is a superhero, didn't tell her that she was a superhero. Like, it's not like she flat out told her, like, hey, I'm not Supergirl. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, because I don't recall at any point Lena saying, like, oh, hey, are you Supergirl? Or, like, you look like Supergirl, or anything like that. There were times when she should have found out, but she didn't, because she was, I don't know, blinded by friendship or whatever. But yeah, definitely the close people, the friends and family that had betrayed her at important times in her life. You know what I mean? It wasn't just always, but it was at important times, important people, and important times of her life. So it's, you know, it's kind of understandable that why she feels this way now. So that was the best part of the episode. There was some good, there was some kind of stuff. You know, Leviathans, like, are they, you know, popping in, popping out, and knowing everything and controlling everything the way they do. Like, that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's about a 7.5. And then the timeline thing, that's kind of annoying, but like, you totally just crap the bed on trying to set it as a timeline. Like, you just totally messed that up.
Yes. And that always kind of annoys me, but.
Well, you know, I mean, they've been doing this show now for 4 years. Okay. So, on the CW, they've done the show. The show is in its 5th season. So, like, it's 5th year. Superman did not just show up and did not just become an alien the year before Supergirl did. He was Superman when Kara crash landed on Earth as a teenager. Mm-hmm. So that's 10 years ago, before she even became Supergirl. And then during the run of Supergirl 4 years ago, the sun did not turn red.
Right, because that means the sun turning red would have happened, like, boom, and then, like, the week after should have been, like, the pilot of Supergirl. And it just doesn't feel right, you know? It just doesn't. It just, none of it pieces together completely smooth how they wanted to. So, because, I mean, Kara would have been affected by the sun turn.
Yeah, she'd have, if she was flying, she'd have fell to her death.
Even if her not being Supergirl, just walking, she would have, like, got weak, felt sick. Like, there would have been a huge thing. And that's why.
Oh, yeah.
You can retcon stuff, but that to me is like, it's too close. Had it say, like you said, a farther in the past event is when the sun turning red happened. Mm-hmm. It would have been like, okay, I can let that slide because, you know, that was way before the show. So, like, I can understand why that wasn't mentioned. But whatever. We're just, you know, beating a dead horse now.
Yeah.
But anything else?
It was a good episode. It was a good episode. Some things withstanding. It was a good episode. It's been a good season so far. We'll see what they're trying to do with, like, Leviathan. We don't know anything or much about them from the comics or anything from them in the show. Yeah. And I'm telling you, know,
when you read the last part
we've got
Leviathan, you'll be like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. And then we got Crisis coming up, which is shaping up to be awesome. We all are anticipating Crisis. So
which is
we got a lot to look forward to, and we're gonna see where Lena goes and where Leviathan goes. be interesting. Be interesting to see what Lena does when she learns and investigates Leviathan, because honestly she should probably learn more from Eve's memories. If she can do that, obviously she's going to be able to do that. It's going to be written in and she's going to be able to do that. So obviously she's going to learn more about Leviathan faster than, say, the DEO and Kara, with actually having to do physical investigating, as opposed to like the firsthand knowledge that comes from Eve's memories.
Mm-hmm.
So Lena's going to figure that out. And what's going to be interesting, is she going to join Leviathan? Is she going to, be Lena, be a Luthor, and be super intelligent and be able to manipulate, be able to control Leviathan? Who knows? I don't know. Like there's potential. We'll see what happens. But when you expect potential from the CW, you might get it, you might not.
Yeah.
So
all right. Well,
temper expectations on that. But it's interesting to see where we're going.
So with that said, we're going to bounce, and we'll see you guys next time.
Look up in the sky.